Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the F1 2024 Driver Career Mode here in Season 1 with the Haas F1 team. It is time for round 20 of 24 of the season. We are headed to Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix. Now, on the heels of a United States Grand Prix, a home race series that was not particularly kind to us, a difficult sprint race, and then a mechanical failure in the Grand Prix. We're headed out to Mexico to try and rebound and see if we can't get some of that form back. Looking at the little short weather indicators in the qualifying and race boxes on the screen there, it looks like it's going to be a dry qualifying session, but a chance for rain in the Grand Prix itself. So it's been a little bit, a few races since we've last had the rain impact us. We'll see if we can get to grips, so to speak, with the damp track, and also just where that tends to lie in the actual race strategy. Is it significant rain? Is it only a little bit of rain? How are we going to navigate that? But we'll have to look into the more detailed emails, and hopefully we get a detailed weather report in the messages. Every once in a while we don't, in order to check up on that. So let's take a peek. Alrighty, weekend preview. Do we get the weather forecast? We do. It looks like just a little sprinkle of a rain towards the tail end of the actual race itself. So, should be an interesting one. Failed the don't damage your car in 3 sessions one because I damaged my car in practice. Still have a few left to do with the race weekend. You can see development-wise, we still have chassis development waiting, but everybody's starting to flatten out in these last few races of the season. So we're still kind of smack dab in the middle. Of course, that MG UK that went kaput in the last race, out of commission, but we do have some buffer when it comes to that particular mechanical component. But let's head to qualifying.
This is a special place to go motor racing. We have the Fora Sol. The track is warming up nicely, and it is nearly time to set the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. What an atmosphere we have in Mexico City.
So out for the first run of qualifying out of the baseball stadium, getting wound up to start the flying lap. Cross start finish line, couple 100 meters before we even open the DRS. The longest run from the grid boxes to turn 1 of the season. You can see the speed that you pick up down this straight, and of course there's going to be huge drafting opportunity down into the first combination. Right-hander of 1, left-hander of 2, right-hander of 3. Get on the power, let the car chase out as much as you can to try and get the car under throttle. Now, second DRS zone off the same trigger, so an opportunity to make a little bit of a gap if you're able to get the move done into turn 1. Now, tricky little fiddly tight section. Get the car spun round and rotated. Very tough to get that now for the fast sweeping sections. Nico Hulkenberg, provisional best lap, first man out on the circuit though in the 1:14s. Then throw the car through the S sections. Another DRS zone opens up the rear wing, and then we are hard on the brakes to the right-hander into the stadium. Try and get the car slowed down and rotated for this very, very finicky little set of corners, and then of course the final corner. Get rotated, get on the throttle as early as you can. Use that last bit of battery across the line to 14.394, so just a bit better than our teammate, but only good enough for P3 provisionally at the moment. Of course, that slides down as we get ready to head out for our final run as we've slid down to P12 provisionally, but an opportunity to improve. So opening up the DRS as we've already started this lap and down the big long straight. Hitting a VMAX of about 213 miles an hour, switching off the battery as we get hard on the brakes. Able to be just a little later, but a little bit tricky through turn 2. Not ideal. We actually lose a bit of time through turns 2 and 3. Having to use a little extra battery there to boost it up. We should have enough margin in there, but we do set the fastest first sector of anyone through that first sector. So our straight line speed looks to be quite good. Not so good through the double right-hander. Verstappen at 13.429 is the new margin to beat. Now, can we throw the car hard enough through this section in order to make up the time? And no, we take just a little bit too much of the inside curb and an invalid lap time. So, no improvements to be had
Goodbye
for us.
now,
We will be starting
Just getting
P13.
started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So P13 is as good as we're going to get, better than the P20s that we had in the US, but we are ahead of our teammate this time by.
Welcome to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race here in 1963. It's Mexico City, and it's Grand Prix Sunday. 2,285 meters above sea level, the altitude will test the driver's fitness and their engine's efficiency. 17 corners, 7 to the left, 10 to the right, and make up a 2.6-mile circuit equipped with 2 DRS zones. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Stroll, Russell, Gasly, Verstappen, Old-Timer, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Joe, Tsunoda, Albon, Ricciardo, Sargent. Carlos Sainz will start from the back of the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me, a real authority on all things motor racing. It's a warm welcome back to Anthony Davidson. Well, they're having a better time than their teammates so far this year. How do you keep that momentum going? Now, those final hours before a race, did you have a routine?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, mate, I know it's tough in there, it's hot in that cockpit, but your tyres are even hotter, so you're going to have to work extra hard to keep them cool. It matters for performance.
So here we are. Usual strategies of medium hard seems to be the ideal, but of course we don't know what that rain is going to do. So I'm going to consider taking a look at the hard medium strategy. It puts us on a little bit softer tire in case the rain is not so bad that we need to change. It gives us a little extra grip at the tail end. Of course, it's supposed to come right at the end. We're seeing if the soft is viable. Doesn't really look like it, honestly. So we're just going to go ahead and revert that strategy. But here we are. P11, thanks to some grid penalties for engine penalties for other cars. But here we are, 5 red lights up and out, surrounded by all medium tires around us. So it's going to be very important in this first phase of the race to just hang with this group. We have our teammate right in our rear view mirror. We have the Sauber to the inside. Ocon also side by side. Now on the brakes into turn 1, looking to try and go around the outside. We do sweep wide of Verstappen and Russell. Get kind of put on the curbs by Leclerc, but we're able to jump up into the points paying positions right away. 2 spots gained and a good drag run on Leclerc here as well. So we're going to be able to stick our nose up, try and get up the inside of Gasly. Little contact side by side as we have a bit of rear locking. And now we are around the outside of him. Brake late, sweeping around. He's going to have the inside line, the shorter run, and he is still going to maintain that position. So could have been dangerous, could have been some damage if we weren't careful. That rear locking definitely caught me out and kind of forced me into attempting a move on Gasly. But with the hard tires, we are up a couple of spots right at the start of the race here. And now definitely looking to be in a pretty decent spot. We are going to be going longer than other cars in this race. So hopefully the undercut is not very powerful, but we will have the medium tires on at the end when the car is light. And we should have a pretty good rapid kind of cars. So 23.484 to start the race off with. And now you can see what this straight looks like. Using the hot lap mode to make sure we're not harvesting towards the end of the straight and losing speed at the end. There's plenty of other partial throttle and braking zones around this circuit to get a decent amount of charge done per lap. But Leclerc now having a little bit of a look at the backside of us. We're going to have to use a little bit of battery to ensure that he doesn't go for anything on us. But it's definitely going to be trying to push very hard on these hard compound tires. Just the performance differential between the mediums and the hards is going to be a bit of a challenge to keep up with the cars ahead. And if we can just continuously stay within DRS as we've done for most races this season, if you can stay right there, you'll be within touching distance. As soon as you lose that DRS, it can be very hard to regain it and catch that pack back up. But we seem to be doing quite decently here. We'll see what the new fastest lap looks like. 16.583 is the pace. We are going to come through at a 17.2. So the Alonso definitely looking very quick in this race already. You can see it actually looks to have a 1 second gap to the cars behind. Looks like a McLaren and a Mercedes. But we are just kind of going to settle in now. Hold position. If we get a good run, we'll go ahead and take the move, but realistically not really feeling urgencies to get a move done with the tire grip differential that we have compared to the other cars. Leclerc trying to have a little look around the outside of us through the slow section, but nope, we hold him off, and he is not going to get going there. We have a bit of wheel spin coming out, and that's going to cost us a bit of time to the car ahead, but we should be able to just stick right where we're at. Really throw the car through the S's, flip open that rear wing as we head towards the stadium. Rear light flashing, so we're having to use a lot of battery already in this race. And it's going to get a little tougher. We need to do some recharging, I think, before we get ourselves into any kind of good attacking position. Love the overhead shot through the stadium. You can see just how much change of direction is needed. Looks like a very good run off the corner for Leclerc. He's deep in the slipstream, already pulling out. And in fact, we lost to the DRS thanks to not having, the straight line speed of that battery power. So a move being wound up by Verstappen on the outside too. A little contact side by side as he's trying to force his way through. We are going to swoop around the outside of turn 2 and get back to the inside of turn 3. So we managed to hold that position, but again, under attack because it's one detection point covers the one down the pit straight and the one between turns 3 and 4. We do manage to hold Verstappen off, but now we need to try and stay with Leclerc, who has shown good pace on those medium tires until those mediums start to drop off. But you can see already 9/10 of a second, getting close to that 1 second margin. So it's going to be tight. So we have managed to hold the DRS this time. But look at the state of our battery. Only 7% left in reserve. Going to be very difficult to stay with the pack this way. And of course, AI very quick through the stadium section. I think we just about, 0.96. I think we just about held on to DRS that time. No, actually we did not. The detection point might be just a little further around, not where it shows on the mini-map. But there goes Verstappen through. We have basically nothing to help us with straight line. We're going to have Russell breathing down the gearbox as we grab the slipstream of Verstappen. And big wheel spin coming out of turn 3. Huge loss of time now. Under pressure from Russell, we're going to kind of hold the inside line, use some battery to try and go side by side. Or it's going to turn into the outside of the right-hander. He's still just about there, but we get finally clear of him. But that is quite a bit of time lost to Verstappen ahead. You can see now teetering on that 1 second margin. Need a good run through the S's in order to retain the DRS detection, which I don't believe we do. No, we've lost it. So we're really struggling here. As the field has spread out a little bit, those medium tires still got plenty of grip and also just seem to have a good a good downforce advantage on us. I think I went with a little too much low wing setup here because they're really making some ground on the in the corner sections. On the straights, we're able to make a bit of ground back up. At least we're able to get back within DRS through the stadium section and potentially close back up to Verstappen. But he also has DRS from the car ahead. So it is quite the group, though. Aside from Alonso, who's way off in first, P2 all the way back is still quite bunched up, and you can see still that red light flashing. If I can just have a lap where I can stay with the cars ahead, have a good opportunity to recharge the battery, but I'm having to push so hard on these hard tires, using up so much battery that it's really starting to bite me at this stage of the race. But still a decent ways to go in this one. Might settle in. We are going to have the better tires at the end. So there's always the idea and the hope that it'll kind of come back to us as we get deeper into the race. It does look like we're starting to be able to settle in a little bit more comfortably within the DRS range of the cars ahead. So we shouldn't be so much under pressure from the car behind, although George Russell is all over our gearbox here. And he's actually got a very good run off the corner, so straight line and yellow flags ahead. Yellow flags. Russell trying to set up a move. He's going to have to back out because we're entering the yellow flag zone. I just kind of pinch his nose off because, well, he's not supposed to be there. And who is it pulled off to the side? It is Alonso. So the runaway leader of the race has a mechanical failure and is out of this race just 7 laps into this 36-lap race. So we're up to P9 now. And now, essentially, the lead of the pack that we're attached to is the leader of the race. No longer have Alonso way out in front. And it does look like we are starting to see the turn of the tires. We're having an easier and easier time holding on to the cars ahead, and also battery level is much better. We're up into the 30s, 35, 36% area, even into the 40s when we get on the brakes. So this is the time to really put some effort down, maybe make a move or two into turn 1. And then charge the battery as much as we can, because we're going to need to do a decent amount of battery burning because we are going to have to be going long compared to everyone else by taking the hard tire first. And of course, there's always waiting in the back of the mind what the rain is going to do. So jumping ahead now is lap 12 of 36. And headed down the front straight we go. Looks like one of the McLarens is starting to get away from the others. Good straight line speed into turn 1. And we can manage to get a good slipstream on Verstappen here. It allows us to close up quite nicely to the cars ahead. So we're starting to get nice and stuck into this. See if we've got anything interesting coming up shortly. It looks very close to the back of Verstappen. Going to swing around the outside of him, actually. He has to adjust. We have so much grip around there now. Again, around the outside. Earlier in the race, the inside car was able to get the traction down and hold me off. But this time, as their tires are falling off, you can see, able to clear Verstappen. And now looking back ahead at the Ferrari in front with the DRS available to us. So another position back up the order. I believe that puts us P8 now. And it's starting to feel like potentially top 5 on the cards after a pretty rough race weekend out in Austin, where we definitely had a tough time. We're in a much better spot here. So DRS open, overtake using a bit of it. As we're closing up on this next group of cars down into turn 1. A little bit too much speed on the apex of turn 1. It compromises turn 2 and turn 3 as a result, but sometimes you just get that extra overspeed when you're going in a straight line, and it becomes tough to really manage it down. But into turn 3 here, very close to the back of Leclerc. Going to do the same thing we did to Verstappen to Leclerc. To the outside we go, and this time even further ahead by the time we get through the corner. We have Pierre Gasly just ahead of us now, up into P7, looking at a couple of cars we can dispatch of potentially to get to the top 5. Pierre Gasly, the Alpine car, not high up on the performance charts, but driving very well at this stage. Jumping ahead again, lap 15 of 36 in the slipstream of Gasly. Switch to the outside of turn 1, late on the brakes, side by side, leaving the space on the inside. We're going to have to try and sneak past on through turn 3. We managed to get the power down and get by him. So up again into P6. Now looking ahead to Lance Stroll. We did have to use quite a bit of battery. And big lockup from Perez ahead. And so that's going to put us in a position to maybe attack. No, he chops the nose off and will not be able to get there. So he drops the position to Stroll. Was able to recover from the lockup relatively quickly, honestly. Got back on the circuit just fine. But we do need to recharge some battery here. We've been in an attacking mood for a few laps here. We're going to need to settle in once again, get the battery charged back up so we can go back onto that cycle of attack and recovery. So anybody opting for the pit lane doesn't look like it as we come through the final corner. Now big slipstream. Big old slipstream group headed down the pit straight. Are we going to be able to make a lunge on Perez? Looks like we're going to be a little far back this time by. Looks like Mercedes getting past one of the McLarens up for P2 of the race. I think, yeah, you can see the gap to the other McLaren ahead. So essentially, Alonso was running away from the race. Then when he retired, now we've got a McLaren running away from the race. So breakaways are kind of working, but still some work to do for us. Trying to have a little look around the outside again. Not quite there for us on Perez. Had a little thought of it once again, but we definitely have a grip advantage on the hard tire compared to the mediums. They've definitely dropped off, and we can put our car in a little bit more advantageous positions to try and make some more unconventional moves stick. Let's see if we can set ourselves up for a good run down the main straight. Does anybody come into the pit lanes? Yes, one of the McLarens, the Mercedes, dives in as well. So the leader stays out. Hamilton is in. Our teammate is in. So we are right around the medium tire drop point. So they are going to be taking their pit stops, getting into the pit lane. So I would expect that Stroll and Perez should be coming in on their next lap as we slide our way through turn 3, trying to get the throttle down. So we should be in a position to inherit the lead of the race in this one when the 3 cars ahead of us that are all on mediums go ahead and make their stop. So I've essentially tried to regain as much battery as I can at this stage. So that way, as soon as I am released to clear air, can start utilizing the hot lap mode a little more. Actually, we're already using it because we got about 75% battery. And try and turn in some very good laps in order to try and be in a good spot when we do come in for our next pit stop onto the mediums. It's likely that we will get undercut by some of the cars around us. We'll use that Alpine as kind of a marker. But yeah, into the pits go that group. So we are through. You can see the McLaren just now pulling in. That is the lead of the race for us. We do have the DRS down these 2 sections, so that'll help us out with this clean air lap. But we're very much on to push for the next few laps. Try and minimize the time losses for the undercutters, and then go on the attack on the medium tire, which should be good, very good at the start of the stint. Towards the end of the stint, might kind of start to balance out with the hards, like we saw the inverse happen with us really struggling to keep up with the mediums at the start, and then being able to kind of put our car wherever we wanted on the hards later compared to the mediums and make some around the outside moves stick a few times. But as it is now, it's just the Haas and the track trying to be as fast as we can, essentially turning in quali laps at this stage. So 17.145 is our best lap of the race. We've got about an 18-second gap to Piastri, 19.9 to Norris. And into the pit lane we go, actually. So we are only offsetting our pit strategy by a lap. So we're coming in essentially a lap early. Expecting probably the rain's going to gamble on the rain, potentially adding another stop if needed. But trundle on in, tires off, tires on, 2.5 second stop.
Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
So let's see, we will slide back. We can slot in behind Perez, which it looks like we should just about do. That is actually not a bad result because now we've got the better tire. We're not going to have DRS here, so we are going to have to burn a fair bit of battery just to hang on to this group because they are going to be quite quick in a straight line. But let's jump ahead now, lap 21 of 36. So a few laps further ahead. We're still in this same main train. But we do have the DRS help. Verstappen is 1.8 seconds back, so he's actually not in this train. Side by side up ahead, the McLaren and the Mercedes. That's going to give us the opening around the outside of the Red Bull, a move we've done several times already in this race. This time we've got the medium tires and the grip to do so. And still side by side, McLaren and Mercedes. They're going to be rather slow through here. So we're going to kind of try and pick a spot to lunge. Have to lift out. We nearly got the momentum dead on. We got a good run on the Ferrari with 3 wide in the braking zone. Going to sweep past the both of them. We're going to go just a touch wide out of caution. And that does move us up into 4th place now with 15 laps to go in this race. And we are on the medium tire. Did we stay close enough to Lewis Hamilton to get DRS? Not that one lap, but jumping ahead lap 24. The clouds are coming in. The rain is there. Alex Albon out of the session.
Manage your tires.
And we have a good run on Lewis Hamilton as well. So we have a run on Hamilton. Norris has a big run. It's going to look to be 3 wide down into turn 1. We have plenty of space for the both of them. Don't want to be caught in a 3 into 2 situation. So wide around the both of them. Able to get up into P3, the podium positions. But with 10 laps left to go in this one and a very gloomy looking sky, if it rains significantly, it's going to be an extra pit stop for everyone. Or is it going to be the kind of rain where we just have to kind of hold on to the slicks? That's kind of the reason why we went hard first, then medium second. Slightly softer compound, a little easier to keep temperature in it, a little bit of extra adhesion when it comes to slightly damp track surfaces. But we're through the yellow flag zone for poor Alex, who's out of the session. Lance Stroll, though, about 2 seconds ahead, so I think he's actually opening the gap. And rear end's locking just a little bit through the stadium section. Hamilton's probably going to have a pretty straightforward run at us with the DRS assistance. And indeed, look at the overspeed he's going to have. So we're going to tuck into the slipstream. You can see follow right in his wheel tracks. 1.9 the gap to Stroll, so still hovering right around that 2 second margin. So here we are in a fight for the podium positions. Jumping ahead, lap 27 of 36, and you can see the streaks of rain on the halo. DRS still available to us, so allowed to use the rear wing opening. Norris very quick in a straight line though. He's going to go to the outside. We're going to hold the inside, having to really measure out the braking. Very deep though because of the damp circuit. Side by side, Norris having a look. Car sliding as we're getting on the throttle. Track is definitely greasing up and greasing up quickly with 8 laps left to go in this race. We've only got a few corners left before we really have to make the decision. Is it going to be intermediate tires? And the way the car is really fighting me here, I'm thinking, yeah, probably.
The track's getting wetter. Recommend you stay out for now, though. We'll be much slower if we move on to inters this early.
very tricky in a section of the track where you have to really trust the grip of the car. You can see back end got away, had to make a big save as it slid. DRS still available, but I'm thinking it's probably time to come in and get some wet weather tires. The slicks are getting very difficult to manage around here. It's going to be a gamble if we stay out. Let's see what we chose. It's been a while since I actually ran the race. And indeed, staying out, so fighting with the traction. You can see, though, my pace compared to the other cars in the wet, just not as good on in the wet on the slick tires. Through goes Lando Norris. We're going to grab the slipstream and just try and defend against the Red Bull behind. This time a little bit more measured on the brakes, able to get the car stopped, rotated, some wiggles as we're getting on the power. The car likes to trying to walk across the track. And once again, just defending, keeping them at the back. Another big slide as we have a rear lockup in there, having to constantly fiddle with the brake balance now as the track is greasing up even just a little bit more. Back end stepping out on throttle. Car gets very lively and is basically trying to spin me out and kill me through the S section here. It is no easy feat to carry that. We're going to defend the inside. He's going to get the run, try and go along the route outside. We're just going to go ahead and show him the door. Right to the outside. A little bit of a lock on the way in and big slide getting on the power as it transitions to that right-hander. Is it worth staying out on these tires? And no, we're coming in. One of the Red Bulls follows us in. The leaders have stayed out. So on to the intermediate tires, I believe, is what we'll be taking. There's the Mercedes in. Does the McLaren come in? The McLaren that was up ahead did not come in. So off those tires and a slow stop. Right rear comes off very slowly. And that's going to slow up the double stack for our teammate. I believe that's going to put us still ahead of the Red Bull somehow. So they must have had a slow stop as well. Oh, no. Yeah, because Perez is still out on the dry tire. So 22.8 seconds the gap. Let's see what kind of inroads we can make by being on the inter tires, or if those dries are still drivable. Which, you know, pace-wise seems like they're doing okay. Of course, track getting wetter all the time. We have the pressure of a Max Verstappen behind us. It's going to get a bit interesting. We should, based on what I'm looking at now, come out ahead of Sergio Perez when he comes in, because now it's 21 seconds. You just hear the revs climb as the car slides, as the rear starts to become unstuck from the tarmac. But honestly, those last dry tire runners put in a pretty decent lap on the dry tires. Only lost about 2 seconds to me. And it's actually going to be, I think, rather nip and tuck with Perez on the way out. Let's see. Coming on to the main straight, fighting the rear of the car as it slides. We're clear of Perez, but we are going to be a ways back of Lando Norris, so he's able to maintain his gap. We've had to burn quite a bit of battery on that lap, just defending from Verstappen, and so trying to hold on to a top 5 finish at this point. We were nearly in podium contention, but then the rain really was a difficult condition to drive in. Verstappen trying to make a move around the outside. Once again, just going to kind of usher him off the racing line, and we're able to get and maintain the position. Now Leclerc having a little bit of a sniff at Max. He's got the outside line. Does he have the run to get by him as we head into the S's? The answer is not quite. We're losing time hand over fist to Norris now, as the wet weather confidence in the car is just, it's tough. So difficult, especially on the, we were already running lower down force setups, and now as that just gets even more pronounced as the rain plays its part in this one. You can see Norris now almost 4 seconds ahead. Verstappen and Leclerc seem to have sort of figured out their differences there and sorted out their positioning. But you can see fighting, catching the car every time coming out of the final corner, trying to get the best launch off the corner, but you can see bad exit plus having to burn all that battery. Verstappen goes through. We're going to grab some slipstream, try and re-attack him around the outside, sweep to the outside, holding the inside of 2, and we actually get back clear of him into 3. So a good little back and forth between Max, the world champion for our season here,
5.3 seconds.
and then Norris now 5.4. So tons of time being gained. Definitely just no chance of actually catching up. Stroll doing well in the Aston Martin. A good result so far for him, and now we're just essentially going to be in, well, get the car home without putting it in a wall, and if Verstappen gets close, defend like crazy. The rain is still falling, and will likely, almost certainly be affecting the track till the end, because we're about to start lap 33 of 36 in this one. Verstappen very close this time. We get a decent exit off the corner for once, not having to chase the back end of the car too far, but Verstappen will be deep in the slipstream. We've been burning a lot of battery to just maintain position. Can we stay in front? He's going to have a little shape to the inside, pulling to the inside under braking. Once again, we're going to sweep the outside of 1, get to the inside of 2, and get past him for 3. And he is once again now going to be under pressure from the Ferrari, who does get through. So Leclerc through on Verstappen, and hopefully that might buy us a couple seconds of breathing space. I guess we'll just have to find out. A few laps left to go in this one. Praying at this point that the engine holds on. We've had a few engine failures in the trailing stage. Baku and then Austin, almost back to back. I think there's only 2 races between the 2 of them, if I remember right, which I probably don't. Which I think is 4 mechanical DNFs on the season, 4 engine failures. So not great. But car is starting to come towards the top of the performance charts. I think if we can safeguard our adaptations for the rest of the season, for next season, we could be in a very good spot for season 2. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of the final corner, and look at the release that Leclerc has gotten. He's going to go to the outside. We are going to stay to the inside. Verstappen still in the draft of us. Side by side on the way down into turn 1. Braking, holding the inside, and this time we'll be able to get fully clear of him as we turn into the apex of 2. So we've managed to defend from both the inside and the outside, winding up for the final lap of the race. You can see Norris has gotten to 14.2 seconds clear, which is, I mean, his pace in the wet was insane. Just absolutely insane compared to mine. I felt like I was struggling, just to keep the car on the track. It felt like I was very much on the edge. But alas, he was able to hold it off. We've been still fighting, holding Leclerc off. Only a few more straights to go in order to try and shore up a top 5 finish in this one. Realistically, on the way into the stadium is going to be the last best opportunity. So we need a very good run through the S's. No big slides. And if so, we need to make sure we've got battery ready to deploy. As soon as the car's pointed straight, we can dump that battery. But trying to be very smooth with the steering inputs as much as we can. A good run for him out of the corner, but we have just the right amount of battery to get on the brakes. The rain did stop. Lewis Hamilton wins the race. And now just kind of tiptoeing our way through the last few corners, Really not a spot you can overtake on this circuit through the stadium. And it's just about getting across the line clean. And indeed, we do manage to grab a top 5 finish.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
The longest winner streak of his career is over. Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag.
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
It's a good result for the Mercedes team to grab a race win at the tail end of this season here. Trying to increase the Constructors' Championship spots, but all Mercedes power units on the podiums. All 3 teams, Aston Martin, McLaren, and Mercedes, the factory team, definitely looking very interesting here, as the Red Bull looks to maybe be dropping a little bit at the end.
After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
And Nico Hülkenberg managed to move himself up from P13 into a points-paying position, grabbing a point at the tail end of the race. We finish in P5. Managed to grab ourselves 10 nice, comfy points. So definitely the kind of bounce back that we needed. That puts us just 3 points back of George Russell in the standings now, of course. Oscar Piastri runs away from us, and we're sitting on a nice, comfortable 150 points. So it looks like a development finished for durability of the MGUH. Hopefully that will pay some dividends next season. Let's get our manufacturing specialist goals set. 100 miles in a race weekend, doable. 180 mile an hour, or open the DRS slot. Let's do the DRS slot because that can get done in practice quite easily. Lift and coast or 50 seconds in 5th gear. Either one is fine. We'll do the lift and coast. And 2 practice programs. Easy, easy, peasy. Should be able to get those sorted out quite straightforwardly. Forwardly? That's not even a sentence. Okay. But looks like just one more part to adapt, and we've shored up our aerodynamics for the next season. Still a lot of progress to be made in there. Got to try and get that going. The engine's in a good spot. We're one of the better engines on the grid. And chassis starting to get there. But definitely have some ground to make up. We're kind of in that middle zone. We do have Brazil coming up next. Should be a very interesting one. I think that's maybe another sprint weekend. I don't remember off the top of my head, actually. I don't recall. I'll have to look.
Okay, mate, I'm pleased to say that our new parts have come through without any issue, so they'll be on the car, ready for the next race weekend.
But yeah, Brazil is a track that we typically do decently at. Have had a lot of league racing experience there, so should be a good opportunity to see how the car is doing and keep working our way up the grid in the points. Maybe get ahead of George Russell. Only 3 points to do it. But thank y'all for joining me once again as we get close to the tail end of this season. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.